Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. Colin, what happened last time?
We discovered exactly how much sunshine is left in the world since we decided to take a little break from it. And my companions here are correct. It's none. We got on a ship with the Rubble Warren gang, who probably doesn't want to be called that anymore. And in the overall...
They have a new and improved name. None of you have bothered to find out.
Listen, we are scared
none of us
to
care.
ask questions.
Like genuinely, none of us care what their team name is.
The questions we asked were answered, and none of us asked all of the questions that we want to, but we learned about what has happened since the dominion of Kolseer has once again reigned over the earth. Ari reached out to his patron, and that was a bad idea, apparently, because
it's an idea Ari had. So
she is now the queen of everything that Kolseer is not the king of, and so she's not super stoked on Ari immediately wanting to go back in time and fix things. We hopped on a ship and headed out to the Mornland.
I think you mean ruin things. Like,
right. You speak for her. So
that is my job.
We headed out to the Mornland, which is where Dane and the Rubble Warren gang are holed up as a safe house. And everything is bad, y'all. Just every single thing is bad. Except Dane's alive, so I guess that's not terrible. We'll see. That's where we are.
It's true. You're in a sitting room, essentially. Dane is there and has expressed that he is pleased to see you.
Pog is going to walk up and hug Dane.
Dane puts his arms around Pog and hugs. Around Hog and Pugs.
Act that out for me, Philip, please. I mean...
Well, you see, Dane's been grievously injured and his face is like smashed in like a pug's.
Cannon now. That's what's happened. And then it's good for us to see you too.
Well, it's good to be a relief to anyone when I can. So you jumped through time and went forward, is what Cadric says happened.
That's what it looks like.
All right. Well, that's what it is. If you've moved through time, you've definitely moved forward. Wow. All right. Well, you deserve food and a place to sit, so come on in. It's not the mansion, but it is what we have. He leads you through. He points and says, there's bunks in there if you need to rest. We have a little bit of a facility, but it's not much. And he leads you into another room where there's a big table. There's actually a bunch of tables that look like they've been salvaged from various places. In the center is a large table that's also definitely looks salvaged, but maybe like it was salvaged from one of the big nice estates. And someone has carved into the top of it the image, kind of rough, but the image of a sword with a dragon coiling around it. And Dane offers you seats.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, Ari is just kind of like looks like one of the mourner spirits outside. Ari is offered a seat, walks to a chair, and sits down without saying anything.
Yep. Kadrik, Bajak, Donabella, and Ilya come in after you and start hanging up gear, and eventually find their way to seats around the table. Dane is sitting across from you. Well, I'll answer questions if you've got them. I imagine that you've been filled in on the broad strokes. I don't know what you want to do. I'm not going to pretend I have a claim on you, and I'll help you get where you can if you want to go somewhere. Droem and the Shadow Marches are relatively open. There are aberrants out in the east. It's not the most free and open society, but it's better than the Dominion. This isn't the only place to live. We live here because we're fighting.
I think we'd like to discuss our options in either A, killing Colseer, or B, fixing a time machine, finding a time machine, using a time machine to go back.
Oh, all right. Killing Colseer.
Yeah, that's what.
We have some theories. Going back, I don't know. I can introduce you to some people to talk to about it, but
Has anybody gotten close? I mean, I know that people have fought against him and surely have tried.
close to killing him? No.
Yeah.
He's been attacked, even injured a couple of times, but not. As far as I know, no one's come anywhere near actually killing him.
What are your theories?
I don't know how to explain them properly, but we've done a lot of research into him, and we've got a... What do you call them, Kadrik? Oh, it's the science team. We got a science team. All right, we have a science team downstairs. They've got some ideas on what makes him strong and what might undo that. I don't know how to get you back to your time. I suppose you have the machine that brought you here.
Mostly.
Yeah, it's
What's mostly?
real badly damaged.
Right. Okay.
The day
Colseer
that
and
we
her
left.
Bosleaf.
Oh, yes. That
Got it.
we were attacked by Colseer, and that's why we went the wrong way in time.
Oh, okay.
And
So you've got a damaged time machine.
there you go.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if our science team knows how to fix a time machine, but they're more likely to know than I do, so. Do you need a moment? Do you need some space to talk? I'm happy to introduce you to them. they can maybe answer some questions, but I imagine that it's been a lot and you haven't had a moment. So, if you need a moment, we'll give you one. Otherwise, I can take you downstairs.
I don't speak for all of us, but I don't think we want moments. I think we want action. I want action.
For us this morning, we were going to kill Colseer.
Right. And then everything has gone wrong.
Right. All right, right. That's, Cadric, do you want to take them down? You've got the spiel. Everybody, in, I don't know, for dice rolling, let me have insight checks from all of you.
My favorite.
Oh, boy.
20.
Nice.
3. Nope. I have a modifier.
11.
It's a 4.
Ari, anyone who wants to push can, but Ari, Dane's tired. Like, deep down tired. And you have the sense of Dane as putting everything he has into holding whatever this is together. Of the former Rubble Warren gang, everybody seems quite tired from their excursion. Bajak has said maybe 5 words since you encountered them. Donabella just kind of simmers. Actually, with the strength of your mark, the psychic energy that Donabella just sort of radiates is probably a constant, not pain, but just a constant static in your mind this whole time. And Cadric seems Cadric somehow. He still seems energized about this. You have the impression that while everything really is in many ways terrible, Cadric has found himself in this. Like, Cadric has become exactly the kind of man he wanted to be. And seems not upbeat, but
burdened
energized.
with purpose. Yeah.
Yes, but without the desire to conquer the world that often comes with that sort of thing. Not terrible purpose. Not terrible purpose. Just
glorious.
Just regular purpose. Donabella says, tell me if there's something important. And she walks out of the room. Bajak sets to cleaning, over on a workbench, sets to cleaning his hand axes. And Cadric watches Donabella out of the room, looks over at Bajak. Yeah, I can show you around. So this is our lair, where the Dragonbladez operate out of. Dragonbladez, that's us. Rubble Warren gang was for kids. This is the Dragonbladez. And we're the strike team. I'm going to use force. Science team's downstairs. Dane's in charge. We have some space where we keep people we've rescued, but usually only until we can get them somewhere better.
Where's Mrs. B?
They told us.
She didn't make it out of Sharn.
Oh, they did tell us. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
She did. When we were all in Sharn, when Colseer hit it, just sort of came out of nowhere. And he just made things start falling. I don't know what he did, but something. Maybe someone on the science team can explain it some, but he changed something, and the towers didn't. The towers couldn't stay up. Yeah. So, yeah. So we house people that we rescue, and then we try to get them either out to the Shadow Marches or north to New Galifar if they can live there safely. And we smuggle goods, and we spy, and do that kind of thing. We've got a few airships. They're usually out on runs. There are some with some allies, and yeah. It's small. We can't do a lot, but anyway, I'll show you the science team. He leads you over to another door, and it opens on a stairway that spirals down, which brings you into
Pog is at the top of the stairs. Pog is going to turn back to Dane at the table. Dane.
Pog.
What of Solarka?
I don't know anything with certainty. I know they didn't leave the city with us. A lot of the Goliaths and ogres in the city went with Golranek and her people when they moved away from the city. So she might have gone with them. I don't know. But we didn't. She didn't leave with us. So I don't know if her family left with the Rushimate giants.
I need you to ask if you can.
I will try to find out. Yeah.
Pog's eyes fill, and he stands up and turns and just walks away back towards the staircase.
You all make your way downstairs. Kadric leading, Ilya following. And you come out into a large room. There are some pins along the walls, and in a couple of them are really weird, bizarre creatures. There's one of those sort of fire hand things that occasionally flings itself against a wall, the bars, and just falls back, even though it looks like it should just sort of flow through them. There's a bunch of workstations and on rollers and on rails from the ceiling, and there are some people in here, one of whom you immediately recognize as Forge. Forge looks mostly the same. It's fairly clear that they have replaced some parts of themselves at various points. They look a little more patchwork than before. One of their legs is clearly a newer model Warforged leg instead of the very, very old model Warforged leg that they previously had. And turning, they look. You are here again. Welcome to my warehouse. What can I do for you?
We heard that you might have some information or theories about...
You are here to consult the science team.
Oh, yes. Are you the science team?
I am part of the science team. Cadric says, yeah, Forge. Forge was with Dane and has been working on a lot of different gadgets and experiments. Forge keeps our ships worked up. Forge should build, I don't know if you knew this, Forge can make anything just that they think about. Forge can make it. Which is, I guess, a power. I thought that's how people made things, is they thought about them and then they made them. But I have learned since then that Forge means it literally. And it took me a while to figure that out, but Forge means it literally. Over here, we have the other leader of our science team, and I don't have to say this very often anymore, but I kind of need you to not freak out about it. Cadric, you don't have to preface everything with that. The person standing there is a human man in his 50s. He's got hair that looks like it used to be red, but has mostly gone gray, and is thinning on top, stubbly beard. Walks over, and as he holds out a hand, you can see that there is a very blue dragon mark on it. Merrix de Kenneth, pleasure to meet you.
I mean, Ari, once again, just on autopilot, sees an outstretched hand, heard maybe half the words.
Yeah.
Half-heartedly shakes the hand and drops his hand back to his side.
Pog side eyes Ari.
Cadric says,
20 years.
I think what my friend Cadric is looking for is the expression that would have been relevant some years ago, enemy of my enemy. Yes, you're thinking, yes, I did make those things that my house then sold to Stormreach. In my defense, I made them for search and recovery. Like
It's
everything.
a better point to you than it is to us.
That's fair.
Insight.
Sure. But like everything, make something, and then someone decides, how can I kill people with this? My grandfather just wanted to know whether an automaton could be alive. And the answer is yes. So of course, we give them weapons. I'm sorry, this is a lot, and you have just gotten here, and I think you have time traveled. What's your insight check,
good
Shane?
understanding.
15.
15. He seems sincere and also like someone who has felt the need to explain himself quite frequently for a long time now.
So we saw one of your inventions outside.
Right.
They're working with Dane or with you, or
Well, you
Kadrick
can
said it was weird.
Well, the initial thought was this. You have an automaton, so if it gets killed, it's not killed, it's just destroyed. You have an automaton, and you can program it with the name of a person. And it can find them. That's the basic idea. Oh, what I've done is a little bit of the reverse. This one has an exclusion protocol where it's programmed to exclude certain people from its programming, and it kills anything else that comes near the safe house to the best of its ability. That's our fifth one. There's a lot of things out here, and not all of them can be killed by an automaton.
That is weird.
Right. So you've time traveled. We've had many conversations about time travel because we knew it was theoretically possible, and Flamewind has explained how he got here. But you were going to go back.
That was the goal.
Right. Well, that's an interesting goal.
We were attacked before we were able to actually leave. And we don't know about how things like this work. Can only assume that that's why we went the wrong way.
Well, damage to your travel device would probably do that. All right, let's pause this. We should have everyone. Our quarters, this way. Our forge uses the quarters for the science team, but of course does not require quarters in the traditional sense. Have you eaten? Would you like some food?
They gave us some on the ride over.
Right. Kadrick, show them in. I'll get the rest of the team, and we can hopefully answer questions about what's gone wrong and whether or not what can be put right. And Merrick's turns and walks off down the long open space that you can see. It looks like a testing ground of various things, at least from the evidence of the walls are cracked and scorched in various places, and goes through a door. Forge gestures at a different door. It is more comfortable in there. I think they have said so.
Thank you.
And they walk through a door into another sitting room with more salvaged furniture. There's a table with some sort of strange machine on it and a bunch of mugs. And Kadrick goes over and takes one of the mugs and sets it under the machine and pushes a couple of buttons, and some calf pours into the mug, which he then walks over and sits down and begins drinking.
Pug's gonna turn to Ari. Are Are you awake right now, or are you still asleep from the trip?
I'm awake. What's up?
No. Shade, I'm not crazy, right?
No, he's acting very, very strangely.
This is the time for talking. Now is the time for talking, and you're not.
What do you guys want to talk about?
Fixing the world would be a pretty good place to start. It's what everyone's going to come into the room for.
Yeah, I don't see how we can manage that. So
And talking to other people. You are very good at that, and you aren't at all now talking to anybody.
Don't have much to say. So I
That is concerning.
I mean, what is there to say? Like, we failed. We made a play. We didn't just fail. We actively made things worse. And that seems to be kind of a pattern that's started to manifest. So doesn't seem like doing something to try and fix the world is probably the best play. Seems like they got the Dragonbladez. Dane's got this operation going, getting people out of Stormreach. Yeah.
So why are you in here to talk then?
We're talking. I was just walking with you all.
So you don't think we tried to fix things?
How would we?
No, there's not a second part to that question until the first part is done.
I mean, we can get the people that died back. That seems like a good fix. Get Arabella back. Thora. If I give her people's names on a list that are still alive, I'm sure she'll call that out and say, oh, well, we don't need to bring this person back. They're already alive. So that seems to be the only real Band-Aid we can put on the situation.
I think that's a conversation we could have after the other conversations of possible things we could do.
Like what?
I need to say something here.
Please.
One, the idea that you made things worse suggests that by your presence in Stormreach, you would have prevented these things from happening. As if you are the only people in all the world capable of standing up. If you had been in Stormreach, you'd be dead or you'd be here. Nothing else would be different. You'd be dead or you'd be here but better informed. Second, if any of you says a word about bringing people back in the presence of Donabella, I will hurt you.
Ari stands up and turns to face her, and with two hands flips the buckles of his breastplate off and lets it fall to the floor. I dare you to try.
Not interested in trying. I am protecting my sister. So, have that conversation all you want, but don't breathe a word about it to her.
Ari, I think you should sit back down.
Listen, the options seem to be try to kill Colseer or go back. And to some end, as was rightfully pointed out to us, not sure that would make much of a difference. We just die. And if we try to go kill Colseer, probably just die. Certainly know that would probably be what would happen to me. Because for a long time, I thought what I brought to the table was a certain level of intelligence and articulation. Never been a fighting type of guy. And I think that you both would agree that the majority of the time when we find ourselves in a fight, I'm a liability to you two. You have to divert what you're doing to try and keep me from dying. And we're not batting 1,000 on that one either. So, I don't know, to your point, Pog, what I'm doing here.
You don't get to be guilty by yourself. You need to put your armor back on. And I think take a seat.
I agree with Pog that you don't get to be guilty by yourself. But also you just said that what you bring to the table is intellect and articulation. We're literally brainstorming and conversing about how to fix things. Intellect and...
I'm bad at that, Shade. Like, when has it gone well? When has it ever gone well? When I presented an idea to the group.
Well, that's a very unfair question to ask when we have time traveled in 20 years and my brain is not thinking well at the moment. But there are examples that I could come up with given more time in a less stressful situation.
I don't believe you because that's all I've been thinking about is sitting there recounting all the times that I've stood for a course of action.
That doesn't feel like a helpful thing to think about.
It seems relevant given the fact that we're about to formulate a plan.
Because if that's what we're going to think about, then we're going to also have to think about how I got Harazi killed. How if I was present, he wouldn't have attacked the entire city on the day that we left.
It was my idea to go to her. I presented that idea. I wanted to do that. We wouldn't have gone to her otherwise.
You couldn't have gone to her without me. With the idea, that's not what killed her. Showing up was.
How would you being present in Stormreach, Kadric asks, have prevented Harazi from being killed?
Listen, we can talk. We could talk various paths. I can only speak to what actually happened. Who knows what would have happened? Nobody does.
he wouldn't have
I'd-
found her as quickly, if at all. That's what would have happened. I agreed. We three are not the fighting force of Kolsir, but Harazi has power. She was a chance that we had.
And you took
And
it.
also, sorry, Ari, we have discussed how doing the right thing matters, even when it doesn't come out the way that we thought. That doing the right thing, the choice that we make to do the right thing, that matters. And so even if we wouldn't have been able to fight and win against Kolsir, trying matters.
None of us would be here if it wasn't for the three of you, and I don't mean that in the sense of you failed and so we're here. You three mostly didn't laugh at us or patronize us. And so I knew I could do this. I did this by looking up to you all. Jacques is carrying Pog's axes. You guys found Donabella. And you protected us. We would have all died under the city when we went down there like morons. And we'd have gone down there, eventually, looking for Donabella. And we'd have all died 20 years ago, eaten by Kruthix. The measure of what you have done is not just whether you won the last big battle. Guess what? We've had 20 years to do it, and we haven't killed Kolsir. And we have lost a lot of people, and we didn't stop him from destroying Sharn. And we didn't save Mrs. B. But there are a lot of people that have gotten out of Stormreach because of us. So fine. You failed. And maybe there's nothing to be done about it. We don't have the luxury of wallowing in it. If you don't want to help them, when Malcolm gets back, I'll put you on a ship somewhere.
I doubt he'll
But we
let
don't
us on a
wallow.
ship of his.
It's been 20 years. If you think...
Hug stands up and walks over to the armor that is on the ground and picks it up, buckles it to itself, and holds it out. Now is not the time for you to be the version of Thora that she didn't like.
I'm still in the day of fighting. Because this is not the living that we were fighting for. And Pog, not forcefully, but presses it to your chest.
Ari clicks his teeth and wraps an arm around it.
Ari, please take a seat.
Ari sits down.
Pog looks to Shade. Just for eye contact. Not to speak, to see if she looks to him.
She does.
There's a jaw clenching, and then he's going to take the seat he was in.
About this time, there's like French doors. I don't know what you call them in Eberron, but French doors at the other end of this room. And about this time, they open, and Merrick's comes back through them. He has a tray with some glasses and some bread and a bottle of wine, which he sets on the side table next to the coffee service. Merrick's is followed into the room, to the reaction of no one else, by a black sphinx with rust-colored markings.
It's right here. Okay.
And sort of russet-colored, like a red-tailed hawk or a bay-winged hawk wings. Who steps in and kind of turns and settles at the other end of the room, occupying a good bit of it. Merrick's turns. You may know by reputation, this is formerly Professor Flamewind of the Morgrave University. A expert on ancient history and theoretical time travel. I'm more of an engineer myself than a theoretician. Forge is, as far as I can tell, the best practical engineer in the world. And so, yes, this is our science team. Flamewind rumbles softly. I have heard about you all. It is a pleasure to meet you.
And us, you.
Circumstances notwithstanding.
Indeed.
Hello.
So, what are we trying to do?
Well, I think it's worth discussing all possible options, whether it's trying to return back either to where we intended to go or just where we're from, or taking a stab at Colseer here and now.
A pun.
No, actually, a bunch of stabs.
Thank you, Pock.
We have a theory on the second part of that. Merrick's begins. You all have been our best source of information, in spite of your not being present, as you are the only people available. You are nearly the only people available to us to talk to who have any direct contact with who have had any correct contact with Colseer. And so your encounters with Colseer being recounted to us, some might say ad nauseum, by good Sir Cadric over here, was a useful point of information to add to this small amount of other direct lines of contact we've been able to speak to. And one thing struck me as peculiar. We know that the Stormhammers went into the jungle, found the resting place of Kulsir, and performed a ritual led by Mirren that both altered some of the Stormhammers and woke Kulsir. But you encountered Kulsir and the Stormhammers in the resting place of Kulsir below Stormreach, where you fought and slew two of his heralds before he escaped. This point, I had initially assumed was Cadric misunderstanding the story or some other sort of unreliability in the narrative, and most of these stories were first told to me in great youthful exuberance, and so I let the matter rest. But recently, as we have discussed them, Flameland has pointed out something interesting. Kulsir hunted most of my people, and his goal in all cases was to take us alive and to acquire the lair of a sphinx. Not all sphinxes live in a lair with the capabilities of the one that Harazi possessed. My own was destroyed by Kulsir, and I only escaped by putting myself into stasis, knowing by a sort of calculation that I don't wish to trouble your brains with, that I would be found in the proper time, and was eventually found by a team of archaeologists unearthing a portion of my former lair, and thus made my way to Sharn. Kulsir's obsession with capturing one of our lairs related to the downfall of his dominion. As you probably know, the Dominion suffered a series of catastrophic setbacks. There was an invasion from the realm of dreams. There was the uprising of the elven cities. And finally, there was the draconic cataclysm. Kulsir became obsessed with figuring out where this chain of events began so that he could seize one of our lairs, use it to travel into the past to the divergence point that led to what he could at a certain point see would be the inevitable fall of his dominion, and fix it. My belief is that when his dominion was beyond saving, he hid himself away. But I believe that is only what he thought he did. I believe that this happened several times, and each time he failed, Kulsir hid himself away and was laid to rest by his followers. I believe that the Stormhammers found Kulsir in his resting place, and also that you met Kulsir and the Stormhammers in his resting place. I believe that what he has been doing since he awakened is traveling around to the many locations where he failed to save his dominion and recollecting himself. This would explain his exponential growth in power. He has seemed stronger and harder to kill each time we have encountered him. So, that leads us back to a theory. And Flamewind nods towards Forge. As you may know, organic beings are meant to occupy a single chronal state. You are meant to exist only once in any given time. Existing twice in a given time is extremely hazardous for you. I theorize it would also be hazardous for an inorganic being like myself, but I'm aware of no such testing that has ever been performed. The being that is Kolsir currently exists as the makeup of an unknown number of chronal states. I believe that a device could be created to disrupt those chronal states and cause him to become suddenly subject to the numerous paradoxes introduced into reality by any attempt at time travel.
So your idea is like a bomb, but of time?
No, not precisely. I believe I could create a device that you could affect him with, and it would cause the contradiction of his existing so many times in a single moment to overwhelm his existence.
In common, Forge, what would happen to him?
I believe he would... I believe that at minimum he would die. It
What
is
potential-
possible that he would be torn apart at the level of time. And I don't know what would happen to those pieces of him, but he would be in no position to trouble you.
Much like, to your point, messing with time can cause problems. Is there any potential fallout from using a device like this on a single being, in your estimation?
Other beings in the vicinity similarly defying the laws of time might be similarly affected. You point at yourself. In what way do you violate the laws of time?
We jumped forward 20 years without aging or existing in a timeline.
Nonetheless, you currently only exist in one place here.
So we have to do this before he finds the rest of himself.
It is possible to do it now. It would be very hard. You would need to severely weaken him. He is currently very powerful. However,
I mean, go ahead.
if you were to take your initial theory of going to a time when he was weaker and apply it to our current situation, now, if you went back, you could go back to a point when he had just begun to gather himself, and however, you would be at great risk of also being torn apart, as you would exist in multiple states at that time. But if we sent you back to a point at which you would only exist in one place, i.e., any point 1 second past your departure point, you would again occupy only one space and thus not be liable to destruction from this device.
Okay.
Have you started working on that device?
We do not have all that we require for this device, and there are several parts to our calculations that are inadequate, and we do not possess a time machine and did not know the location of one until now.
how long would it take you to make the device if you had the things you need to make it? Supplies.
I cannot be sure, but I believe it would not take very long. I believe I could do it in a matter of days. Perhaps less.
The things that you need and the repairing of a time machine, can those happen at the same time? Do you know where the things you need are? And are they now?
We know where the things we would need should be. The item that we would need is variable. We require something imbued by Kulsir himself. The best way to acquire such a thing would be to... I was going to say kill, because that would be the safest means, but I suppose not necessarily. To take one from one of his heralds. As you may have observed, his heralds carry weapons and are imbued with his essence in various ways. We know that one of his heralds always occupies the outposts near the ruins of Sharn. More precise is difficult, but if one could draw a herald out there and apprehend them, or at least take their weapon, although ideally kill them, just because they deserve it, that would be the most straightforward way to acquire one. The calculations that we need to do would require, and the repairing of the time machine would require a level of know-how that we do not possess. Flamewind could direct the repairs on the time machine, but if Flamewind went to your time machine now, which I understand is where?
Right outside the city of Stormreach.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not in a great spot.
It would probably risk detection, and Kulsir would exert significant effort to disrupt any repair and to apprehend Flamewind once it became apparent that Flamewind was there. The person best suited to assist us would be the elf known as Cardane. Cardane is being held by as a poor... I apologize. I have tried not to drag current politics into this matter because it requires some telling, but the short version of this is there is a agreement between the Reborn Queen and her domain and the Dominion of Kulsir. Part of the accord that they struck dealt with what was to become of any elves within Kulsir's domain. And the short version is that she claims dominion over all elves. But there are elves that Kulsir obviously would not tolerate having the freedom of her realm, and Cardane is one. And so an agreement was reached to hold Cardane in an extremely secure facility, one of which has existed for a long time in the Lazar Principalities. So Cardane is currently an occupant of the Dreadhold, which you would all recognize the name of as the most secure prison in Corvair. So getting Cardane and getting the device from one of the heralds. The problem, says Kadric, is Kulsir is very, very good at putting the pieces together. We do very small things because when we've tried to do big things, he's figured it out. He interrupts us a couple of steps in. He always seems to be one step ahead of us and to know what we're likely to do. I'd like to chalk it up to somehow he's manipulating time or something like that, but I think he's just very, very smart, unfortunately. So, if we attack the Dreadhold and free Cardane, he'll be onto us. And if we attack one of his heralds and steal a weapon, he'll be onto us. So we need to find a way to do these things quietly, but also as close together as we can, and then bring the pieces together as fast as possible and go.
So break out of a prison, fix a time machine, and kill one of the strongest servants of the god controlling the earth.
Yeah, we killed Tommel.
Well,
Yes.
then we didn't.
Yeah, we brought him back, but
Where is he?
He's with Malcolm. He keeps our smuggling ships safe. He's working security on a refugee ship with Malcolm right now.
It's a lot less surprising that Colseer figures things out.
Think of the things you can do with your marks, and then understand that practically everyone with one of your marks works for him. He has thousands of people like you in his service.
I guess wouldn't that be we were able to walk through Stormreach unassailed. Could we not just be exalted ones? Get an insight track towards him?
Until someone figured out who you are.
It's been 20 years.
He
To Ilya's point, we didn't matter.
He will have known what you were trying to do. Maybe you're right. I don't count on him forgetting things anymore. We've paid for that.
All right.
I think if your identities became known in Stormreach, you'd be brought before him in a matter of minutes.
All right. So Sharn and Dreadhold aren't anywhere near each other, obviously. So that's a lot of miles to cover quickly, unless we split our efforts and try to do them simultaneously.
Right.
Can we revisit the Tummel helping you thing?
Sure.
How did you verify? How do you know that he isn't working for Colseer?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Right. No,
makes sense.
I understood it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
He's been fighting for us since it started.
But why?
Right. He fought for Colseer for a very long time.
He fought us for Colseer.
You can ask him.
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer you give that will be enough right now, to be honest.
I don't. I was a kid when all of that happened. I don't understand what went down, really. Dane could probably answer that better than I can.
Yeah, no, that's a great question that we'll have for him.
So, 2 teams, one hits the Dreadhold, one hits Sharn.
But we don't do anything until the machine is fixed. Because we don't know the time that will take. Do we bring it here?
But we need Cardane to fix the machine, right?
Right.
Yes, I will require Cardane's assistance. I think all of the what is it? All of the birds in one hand,
That is
eggs in
very
one
close.
basket.
Very close.
I do have birds at the time machine.
And a tree.
Yeah, the trees are watching it too, but as soon as we left Stormreach, there was no way for me to communicate with the trees anymore.
Well,
We
good.
do that sometimes where we have conversations that you would have no context for understanding, but we have them anyway.
Things haven't changed for us. It's been a day.
Okay, so you talk about Flamewind obviously being outside of the city would be a problem. So to Bog's point, is there a way that we could transport the machine here? I mean,
Flamewind being detected outside the city would be a problem, particularly if Flamewind is not. Look, time is elastic. It can stretch, and it can absorb certain shocks, but push too far and it breaks. I don't exactly know what happens to me if you succeed. But I suspect that either this works, in which case the cost of it working will be rendered irrelevant, or it doesn't work, in which case we may just have to accept that this is forever the world we will live in, because I do not see how a better opportunity arrives, and so far as Flamewind knows, this is the last Sphinx lair that is in any way intact.
So you're saying we do the break and we do the attack. And once those are completed, you will fix
And
the
then
ship on the spot.
All of those things, and then all of that meets at the ship. And we repair the ship and hope that you can defend it if necessary until it's ready.
listen, I've seen like reduce spells, shrink stuff. Do we not have a way we could shrink the layer down and blow it back up here? Like, seems like there would be a
That's
way
a
that
great
we could
idea.
transport it. Like, I mean,
That's an interesting idea.
Not
No,
to toot your
no.
horn too much, but I've heard of Merrick's Decaneth where I'm from. Like, in your
When you're from.
Thank you. Yes.
Very necessary clarification.
When you're from, they've heard of me everywhere you're from.
Yes, I regret paying you a compliment. All right.
The
Time
biggest
travel.
brother
Little time
eye
travel
roll.
joke.
Yes. So
Oh,
could we not
It was a
just
joke.
go to Stormreach?
I was very famous, but yes, it was a joke.
So was I. Let's carry forward here.
I see what you are saying. Yes, I understand what you are saying. Could we
It would be nice to
modify-
have one of 3 things done before
No,
we do the rest.
Well, again, yes, okay. So your question, if I understand it right, is could we modify a reduce spell to... Could we shrink... Your idea is shrink the time machine, carry it back here. Yes.
Or teleportation circle around it. I imagine there's one linked here somewhere in Metro. They're like...
You don't want to use a teleportation circle linked here, I promise.
All right.
He reaches down and just pulls up the leg of his trousers, and you can see that one of his legs is prosthetic.
Heard.
You don't want to know what Forge took off of me to replace with this. Teleporting into the Mornland is a very, very dicey thing.
I mean, I'm not going to push that, but I really do want to know. Colin.
Also, that's great information.
Yes.
That is interesting as all get out.
But yes, if there's a way we could reduce
anything more than about 50 feet seems to be the outer limit of safe teleportation. Right. So, could we reduce it? That's an interesting point.
That's a great question, Ari.
I can do that. Is the entire lair traveled here? When you traveled?
I believe so, yes.
I don't know that we took notice.
But not everyone in the lair traveled here.
No.
Correct.
Because Kolsir and Haratsi were in the lair when it took off, yeah.
Was the
But we were in a
door
bubble.
still in?
So there's a piece of the lair that is the relevant.
There were some
Piece.
there were some very specific runes on a wall that Haratsi gave me a quick instruction on how to manipulate them, and that seemed to be the only important part of the lair.
Okay. That in theory, yes, we could also add a third step of stealing the portion of the lair that is necessary. The lair itself, from the descriptions that Flamewind was able to give me, even shrunk to half its size, would still be impractical to carry. But if we could isolate the piece of the lair that we need.
Before we explore that too far, does that add a big level of maybe to our already very big maybe plan?
It just depends on whether Kolsir has discovered the machine, understood what it is, and whether we can get in and out undetected. If the machine has remained undetected, and we could arrive undetected and escape undetected, then no, nothing at all. But all of those are ifs.
I mean, it seems like the longer we wait, though, the less likely it remaining undetected.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah.
So that then raises...
And having tried to travel through time under duress and while being attacked, I would rather take the risk of having to fend things off while we're just trying to take the thing as opposed to use it.
Yeah, no, I understand, and this is a good thought. It had not occurred to me. You can see the cognitive dissonance of "had not occurred to me" run through Merrick's.
We just broke Sheldon.
All right, so now we have a 3-step plan. We need to recover the time machine. We need to steal the weapon of one of the heralds. Ideally killing the herald, because that will slow the communication back to Kolsir of what's gone down. And we need to acquire Cardane from the Dreadhold. And we need to do all of these things as near to one another as we can to lessen the chance for Colseer to react.
Pog is going to stand up from the table, walk over towards the machine from earlier, try to repeat the series of button presses to make a cup of calf.
It's astonishingly user-friendly.
Good. Well, we need
There's
that.
There's an item, there's a rune shaped like a cup of steaming coffee. And when you push that, calf is poured into the mug.
So, let's do a really good job of planning this time.
Right. So we need 3 teams if we're going to do this simultaneously, or we risk doing one piece in advance.
So the only one that
where?
seems like it's possible to do in advance is getting the time machine, because there's a chance
Yeah.
that
Correct.
it's unaware.
How quickly could we get to the time machine?
How quick is the ship that we came here on?
I would put you there in a matter of hours. So I would have to go. And I would need some time to isolate the portion necessary. And then to perform the spell, which is relatively quick. And then depending on the size of the portion necessary, we would need to move it onto whatever we're using to carry it away. And then we would need to go.
Could we do the plan for the other 2 on the way there and back so that we're getting to the time machine ASAP?
Yes, we could discuss, although that would require all of the decision makers to go,
So one of us needs to go to the
which
Dreadhold.
increases a risk.
One of us needs to go to the Herald. And one of us needs to go to the time machine.
What are you talking about, one of us? Says
As-
Cadric.
Of us. Of us.
My team can do
Would-
one.
We could go to the time machine now. Like, the time machine could exist outside of the other 2.
It's true. The danger is, even if you're able to fend off whatever comes, if anything comes, and any word gets back to Colseer, he's going to start working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the danger. We can take that risk, but it is there. You're
All
right.
3
Taking that risk,
Same time.
taking that risk increases the manpower that we have for the other jobs, but it is still there. You have us, and Tommel will be back in a matter of hours.
What time of day is it, Philip?
Late afternoon.
Give me just 1 second. I need to cast a quick spell, and I'll let you know. And Ari gets up and steps to the corner of the room. Ari's going to cast Dream. Just it's an 8-hour duration.
Yep.
With Solarka as the target.
Okay. Tell me, I assume you're looking at, tell me that I'm correct, that if the target is not asleep, nothing happens?
If the target's not asleep, I'm aware of that, and then the messenger that I create can wait until they fall asleep to appear.
Okay. All right. What's the dream look like?
I mean, it basically, Ari just wants to appear in her surroundings, wherever she is, to communicate with her, and let her know that we're all, but mostly Pog, is alive and here, and that we're going to be outside the city soon.
You are in a hut. She looks at you, and then you see that there is a mental effort to just take her attention off of you, and she proceeds about what looks like, one of those really mundane dreams where you're just doing normal stuff. She seems to just sort of proceed.
Solarka, it's actually Ari. That there's a spell people can cast to communicate to people in their dream. Trying to think of a way to convince you that it's 20 years ago. Pog asked you to marry him, and he told us about that. And then we were going to time travel to try and kill Kolseer.
Make a persuasion check.
$30.
Whoa.
I have never dreamed of you.
Ouch. First.
And you are too coherent to be my normal dreams regarding these things. So it's either you or someone extremely sick.
If somebody wanted to manipulate you in your dream, why would they send me?
Perfectly good question. What do you need, Ari?
I mostly wanted to make sure you were alive for his sake. Where are you? What?
I am with the giants of Rushime. We're in Zendrik.
Are you... I can't imagine you're close to Stormreach in any way.
Distances are somewhat amorphous.
Well, when we tried to execute our plan, Kolseer followed us and interfered with our effort. So we went forward instead of backwards. And we're back now. And we're going to try to fix our mistake. I think we're about to head back to Zendrik to collect what we left there. Should be back in a few hours. If you wanted to be where we're going to be, but if not, I can't imagine what your life's been like for the past 20 years, but I wanted to let you know.
What are you trying to do at Stormreach?
We left something behind there when we came back that we're collecting, and then we're heading out. We're not actually going into the city.
It's very dangerous to be that close to the city.
Yeah, but we can't do what we're trying to do without risking it, so it's unfortunate but necessary.
Do you need me, or I suppose us, to do anything? Is there a way we can help?
Not unless you understand time travel.
I certainly don't.
I mean, Slarka, I don't need you. I know someone who does, but I also understand that it's been half a day for him and much longer for you. I'm going to let him know that you're alive. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You can tell me where you're going to be. I will try. If there's any way we can help in your plan.
I'll think on that. I genuinely appreciate it. And Ari gives a description of cardinal directions outside of the city where we were.
Sure.
Is there a message I can deliver to Pog for you? Or Shade?
Tell them all how much it matters to me that they are all right.
All right. Hopefully I'll see you, and I'll let you get back to sleep. Well, you're still asleep, but let you get back to your dream. Ari takes a cursory glance around the hut that is her normal surroundings for any interesting bits of information.
There's no one else visible in the dream.
Any pictures on the wall?
It's a hut. There's no pictures on the wall.
Any significant jewelry on fingers? No.
Extra toothbrushes around.
Ari just kind of nods. Is like, I'm very glad to. I hope the rest of your family is.
It's good to see you, Ari.
Yeah. Bye. And Ari ends the spell. Ari turns around. Pog, can we talk in the... Oh, is there a private place that we could talk? Shade
there's
2.
a bunk room upstairs, but
Sure.
It feels like we're in the middle of planning
I think
something of immense importance.
I think we should go collect the time machine as soon as we can. I think that sounds like a good plan. And risk being undetected. I mean, that's just my 2 cents, though. Then I agree that Dragon's Blade, very competent group, older than us now.
Dragonblades.
Dragon Blade.
Blades. There's
Dragon
more than
Blades. It wasn't Strike Forces.
Force is a collective. You never cared about branding.
I actively dislike Strike Force, but
That's absolutely the case. That's absolutely the case.
I agree that we should tackle one thing and rely on allies to tackle the other. That seems to make the most sense. I don't love the idea of us splitting up. So the question is, which would be... Kadric, what is Dragonbladez? Did I get that wrong?
No, you just said it wrong. The way you said it.
I don't think they're supposed to be 2 words. I think it's supposed to be 1 word with like
Dragon
I'm just
Blade?
saying we have done more successful, impressive things than the Strike Force ever did. You could take it a little seriously.
Ouch.
Did you not hear my whole spiel about how much of a screw up we are? Yes, I agree. So
Y'all are
I was
very
trying
What's your
to
question?
I was trying to ask your input on which job you feel plays to your strengths more. I was trying to have a legitimate peer-to-peer conversation, and then you got all mean about it.
How are you at handling undead and going undetected?
Most of my spells are necrotic in nature now, so handling undead is kind of a bummer for me because they are resistant to everything I can do.
Well, the Dreadhole is almost entirely staffed by undead.
So not that, and also going undetected has never been a strong suit of this group. So
I could also really go for killing something right about now, which sounds like the Herald.
That sounds like the Herald.
all right.
So we're risking the time machine. Do we have anything that will allow us to lower the risk of our detection?
Wait, what do we mean risk the time machine?
We're going to get the time machine ahead of time, apparently, and that's risking detection.
The original plan for them is supposed to be all 3 jobs at the same time.
Shade,
Right.
you have
And
a spell.
why
right,
aren't
that-
we doing all 3 at the same time?
that just spreads us even thinner? And it would be sending. I mean, if Dragonbladez is going to Dreadhold, we're going to Sharn. Do we have any more combat capable folks to escort the science team?
Theoretically, there are still resistance movements in Zindrick, but I don't know how to contact any of them.
I just contacted someone down there, which is why I wanted to have a private conversation.
I'm sure Dane,
The giants of Rushame are willing to help.
Pog's eyes burn.
I would love.
Sorry.
Can I just have 5
That
minutes
seems
alone with my
great.
compatriots?
So,
and then we can get back to planning.
does Dane have a fight in him?
Yeah. Dane. Tommel. You asked me what we got. You asked me what we got.
did?
This is what we've got.
Okay,
I just wish he didn't taste
This
so
is
bad
not
when you
any
say
way I
it.
want to do this, but I'm sorry. Pog, Shade, Solarka's alive. She's in Zendrick with the giants of Rushame. She's willing to help. Gods above.
There are also the Umbragen, says Ilya.
Do you
What about...
have a way to contact them?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad.
What about a diversion? All the fighting force in the world around the time machine will just draw attention to it.
Yeah.
We don't want to defend the time machine. We want them to not see the time machine.
Right.
That's fair.
What we need is a diversion. We need something to make him look elsewhere.
If that's the case, then we have to do all of it at the exact time as fast as possible, because he will definitely know something is up.
There are raids. The diversion would not point him in the right direction, perhaps. The diversion might allow you to get in, steal the piece of the lair that you need, and get out. It would at least lower the risk of not doing it all simultaneously.
Yeah. Would the Drow be willing to do that? Do a diversion?
Yes, the Giants of Rushime too, perhaps.
Okay.
So, you will contact Solarka again. She can speak to the Giants of Rushime. I will let my parents know. They can speak to the Umbragen. And perhaps a strike can be arranged. There are targets near Stormreach, but away from the place you left. We get this machine back here. The science team can work on beginning repairs. Then the Dragonbladez will go get Cardane. You will go kill a herald. We all return. We should not launch this from inside the Mournland when the moment comes.
That's
I
smart.
don't have any idea what would happen.
Very true.
Fine. We put it on Malcolm's ship. We put it on the Wildcat and fly it out of the Mournland and launch from there.
All right.
All right.
And this diversion, they have, they'll have a retreat plan. There's a way to get out.
I don't know what the giants will plan. I know what my father would say, and I know what the Umbrigen would say if I explain this plan to them. And it's what I am saying, because all of this is insane and near suicidal. If this works, then the cost will be rendered irrelevant. If it doesn't work, we die free. Cadric looks at her. If it works, everything just... none of this happened, right? Ilya looks at Cadric. Fine. If it works, the cost will be worth it. I will go contact my parents. She squeezes Cadric's arm and walks out of the room. Cadric is quiet for just a moment and then says, I'll get my team prepped. We'll come help you steal a time machine. I guess get in touch with Solarka again. All right. Well. And
All right.
he turns and leaves. And I think that is where we're going to need to stop this very long episode.
This bonus length episode.
Yeah, this is a mega long
Feature film
episode.
episode.
And we're getting pretty late on our end. So
Cool.
we'll stop there. Ooh,
I'm so
good
ready.
call on. Yeah. Good call. All right, cool. Thank you all so much
It's late.
for watching this episode of Khyber Shards. If you'd like to get in touch with us, please do so in the comments down below. In the description, you'll also find links to all of our social media, including our Discord, including the Geek Pantheon's YouTube channel, where you'll find Eric making TTRPG channels. Not channels. Stuff.
Channels,
Content. Channels on channels on channels on channels. Just all over the place. That's all it is. It's a bunch of channels. To
Like Venice
Colin's
up in here.
Twitch. I hate you, but inspiration. To Colin's Twitch, where he is sorry, BTR. The O is a 0. New episodes of Khyber Shards drop on Mondays. New Khyber Shards answers on Fridays. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.